So to understand the reason why God revealed the Qur'an, we're going to be looking at this verse. We're going to be looking at Surah Ibrahim, which is chapter 14, verse 1. Now let's look at the translation. Alif Lam Ra. A book which we have revealed to you, so that you may bring mankind from the darkness to the light, by the permission of their Lord, to the path of the Almighty, the praiseworthy. So look at this. Here is a reason. So that you may bring out mankind from the darkness to the light. So that is the reason. Allah revealed the Qur'an so that mankind, not just Muslims by the way, mankind could be brought out of darkness and into the light. Now you might say, well, we've heard that many times. That's quite trivial. That's great, thank you. Let's move on to the next subject. But no, this is not trivial. This is very important to understand in depth. Okay, so here we are again. Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, verse 1. And we saw that Allah says, so that you may bring out mankind from the darkness to the light. Here, Az-Zulumati is darkness and An-Nur is light. Now what we really need to do is understand what God means when He uses the word darkness. What does darkness mean? So as we have studied in many videos on the Qur'an Study channel, Allah defines terms in the Qur'an itself. So Allah also defines darkness in the Qur'an. We don't need dictionaries to understand what Allah means when He uses the word Az-Zulumat for darkness. For example, when we're looking at the definition of darkness, let's have a look at Surah An-Nur, which is chapter 24, verse 40. Allah starts this word by saying, O ka zulumatin. Here it is, that word, zulumatin. Or like darkness in a deep sea, covered by waves upon waves, on it a cloud, darkness upon darkness. When He puts out His hand, He can hardly see it. And for whom Allah has not made a light, nur, then for him there is no light. So look at this. Let's think about this. Darkness is like being in a deep sea, in the depths of sea. It's like, imagine being in that depth of sea. You're swimming in that sea. It's so dark in there that you cannot even see your hand when you put your hand out. When Allah uses the word darkness, He means that this sea that you're in is covered by waves upon waves. So you're trapped. And then it is covered by a cloud. So it is dark even above the waves. Imagine that fearful scenario. And this allows us to start to see what Allah means when He says that He revealed the Qur'an to bring mankind out from darkness into light. He didn't literally mean, He's not saying literally, if all of us happen to be stuck in the sea, like we have been abandoned from a ship, or we have fallen off a boat, the Qur'an, He's not saying the Qur'an was revealed for that sort of scenario when you have fallen into the sea. No. Allah's trying to describe the symptoms of being in darkness, of mankind being in darkness. So let's just make some notes about what this means. What are the sort of symptoms that we will note, that we will feel if we are in the depth of the sea, covered by waves upon waves, where we cannot even see our hand. So the sort of symptoms we will note are that number one, we will not be able to see. We won't know where we are going. We'll be lost. Imagine being in that sea. You're fully exposed, you're helpless, you're not in control because you don't know where you're going to end up. And in particular, if you get caught up by the waves, you will be taken to a place where the waves take you. You will not be in control. You'll be under constant pressure to swim to survive. If you stop swimming, you will go deeper and deeper, you will sink, and the pressure of the sea will crush you. You will feel trapped and dispirited. You're trapped because you have these waves on top of you that you're not able to escape from. The deep sea is cold and dense, and that's how you will feel, cold and dense. Now, when we use the phrase normally about being overshadowed by a cloud, being under a cloud, what do we mean by that? We mean that we are surrounded by negativity, by uncertainty and distrust. That sort of environment, that's when we have a cloud hanging on top of us. And Allah is using that phrase here as well. And distrust, you do not know which elements you can trust or not trust. Which ones will get you to safety or not. Now, we're going to come on to why this is really important. Before we do that, let's have a think about our current environment. Let's reflect on the world today. Do we see any of these symptoms? When we think about society at large, communities as a whole, this world as a whole, do we see these symptoms? If we think about it, we will accept that we are not in control of our lives. We're not really in control of our lives. Most people in this world live robotic lives, getting up day by day, using the best part of their lives, working away with the need to consume money and consuming that money in order to survive, literally just to survive. The majority of this world is in that position. The majority of us are not in control. And indeed, many don't survive. Many people don't survive. We are experiencing that symptom of not being in control. This world is cold and dense. It is cold and dense. I've not known any era since I was born that we have not had this world being in conflict, wars being played out, lives being destroyed, humans craving power and acting on the desire to kill people. This world is cold and dense. Not the world that God designed for us, but the world that people have made. We are certainly surrounded by negativity and distrust. You just have to check the media, any day, and you will see the negativity around us, and you will see the distrust, the people that lead this world. We don't have trust in them. When so many of them are consumed by their desires, the selfish desires, to steal power and wealth through corrupt means. So many of them. Most communities in this world, mankind lives in uncertainty. Now, of course, you might say that the future is uncertain for everybody. Yes, it is uncertain. But our uncertainty is profound. We don't know what is around the corner, and that leads us to having the inclination to hoard wealth and possessions, because we don't know what will be done with our children. We don't know what the future will hold for them if we do not save money for them. We don't know what our futures will be. What will happen with us when we are retired, for example, if we're working. And that leads us to hoard because we are uncertain. We are not certain of how the world after us will treat our children and our grandchildren. And indeed, this is the reason why insurance companies are so lucrative. Because we are uncertain. Because we don't know what the society is going to be like when we are not able to earn for ourselves or for our kids. We are not in peace. We are certainly exposed and vulnerable. All of us are. Not just the poor, but the rich are exposed and vulnerable too. That's why they spend so much on their personal security and accountants and lawyers and tax advisors. Because they feel vulnerable, they feel exposed. We have this constant pressure to swim and to survive. We have to continue to work just to survive. How many times do we reflect and think that we do not really have the time to do what we want to do because we have to spend the majority of our lives earning the next dollar or pound or whichever currency? So the reality is that we are experiencing the symptoms that Allah is describing in this verse to do with darkness. We are living in darkness. We are living in darkness. The problem is that humans see this in two ways. Either, number one, they do not see that they are in darkness. We think we are in the light. We think life is good. And that may be because humans as a species, they adapt to survive. And because mankind is in darkness, it has convinced itself that no, this is okay. This is not darkness. We are not in darkness. And they do not recognize the symptoms. It's a bit like somebody who might have a deep medical issue. They might have the symptoms of early diabetes. So this patient may not have experienced or suffered cardiac issues resulting from diabetes. But when they go to the doctor can see, and once they've tested this person and is explaining to this person that you have all the symptoms of being diabetic, but you're not recognizing it. And the person says, I'm fine, but I'm fine, I'm sure I'm fine. But the doctor's saying, look, I've checked you. You may not know it, but you are diabetic. Only when that person realizes that person is diabetic does he or she then begin to think about the medication, how to get themselves fixed. So it's a bit like that. Mankind on the whole does not seem to recognize that it has the symptoms of being in darkness. So that's problem number one. The second problem, which is an alternative to this, is that people may even recognize that they're in darkness, but they think that that is okay. And there is a big religious faith aspect to this. If you ask many Muslims who suffer, who are in suffering, who live in societies that are suffering, deep down, they may feel that it doesn't matter that in this world they are living in darkness, because in the hereafter, because of their faith, they will achieve paradise. Now that is just wrong. If we just go back to the very first verse we were studying, chapter 14 verse 1, the Qur'an was revealed so that you may bring out mankind from darkness to light by the permission of the Lord to the path of the Almighty. So this is talking about this world. The Qur'an came to bring people out of darkness into light in this world. It is not talking about the hereafter. If faith was enough, and if everything was about the hereafter, and if it did not matter that mankind lived in darkness in this world, then there would have been no purpose in revealing the Qur'an. Why would God reveal the Qur'an if it didn't matter that mankind was living in darkness? Or indeed, the only thing that God would have had to have revealed is that you just have to believe in me. You see, so there is a paradox here. So those people who feel that living in darkness in this world is okay, as long as you have faith, are living with false comforts. It is just not true. Now what's happened is that mankind has created this illusion that living in darkness is okay. And that in fact, if you have faith and if you follow certain rituals and you perform certain prayers and you recite certain things, you'll be okay. And so you can live in peace, that it doesn't matter you're in darkness. You can be in the depth of that sea, but it's okay. And in the hereafter, you'll be okay. That is an illusion. It is not true. As we've studied in the Qur'an is telling us that that is an illusion. Because the Qur'an came to bring mankind out of darkness into the light in this world. Does that make sense? Now, if you, of course, see something different in this, or if you disagree, I would love to hear that and an explanation of that. Feel free to provide your comments in the comment section of our YouTube channel. One question you should have is, okay, if that is darkness, what is light?